we get to welcome in someone else we love to talk to, and that is none other than Kendra Andrews, ESPN. Yes, those of you who are thinking knockout at Chase Center, stay right where you are because your chance is coming here just momentarily. But good afternoon, Kendra. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. We've got a lot of different things we've been talking out, and so I ask this without any agenda whatsoever, Kendra.
Oh boy.
No agenda whatsoever. Why are the Warriors so much better this year than they were last year?
I think it comes down to two things. One, I think that they are just a happy group. You know, we've heard Draymond Green just talk about the joy that this team has been playing with. And, you know, over that decade run that they really made, joy was such an important component. And they really have that here. You could just feel it when you're around this group, when you're in the locker room with them. And then second thing, which is just as important, is they're surviving in those non-Steph minutes. Really never in Stephen Curry's career has he been able to sit on the bench and have the Warriors either extend a lead, come back from a big deficit, anything like that. And now with this second unit that the Warriors have, of course, led by Chris Paul, they're really a complete team. And I feel like for the first time in a really long time, Steve Kerr has a set second unit, right? A set rotation. We haven't seen him have that in the past couple of years. It's always been like, I'm going to call on you one night. I'm going to call on you another night. And this year they have a really solid group.
And is part of that solid group not only the leadership of Chris Paul, that's pretty obvious, but now a little bit more Klay Thompson? Are we going to start to see him slide to that group a little more often to provide some shooting for a second unit that doesn't have a ton of it without Klay?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility, right, to mix in a little bit more of Klay with that group. I think another ideal thing for the Warriors would be if Moses Moody would get hot from beyond the arc and start knocking down a lot of shots. That way they might not have to play Klay as much with that group. It's just about finding those minutes and finding those combinations, and I think that that's going to be something a little bit more fluid from night to night.
Okay, we interrupt this amazing conversation with Kendra Andrews to let you know that is, of course, the sounder. So it's contest line time. Start dialing 415-523-4652. This is for your chance to play Knockout at Chase Center. Here is tonight's question. At the end of our last segment, we gave you a Warriors health update. This player is now ruled out and will miss tonight's game along with Draymond Green. Who is the other player who will not play for the Warriors tonight? If you can answer that question on our contest line, call now, 415-523-4652. 415-523-4652. Your chance to play Knockout at Chase Center. Good luck. Who, along with Draymond Green, is going to sit out for the Warriors tonight? And who is going to be with us when we play Knockout? Kendra, how's your jumper?
I was about to say, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
I think I'm ready to go.
Well, no, because you probably reported it. You know what I mean? Like, that's totally cheating.
Okay.
All right.
I won't.
But can you join us for Knockout? Like, how's the jumper?
I mean, I could dust it off. The shoulders are a little tight right now, but,
Yeah.
you know, give me a couple days to get loose. I'll start my stretches now, and I'll meet you guys there.
Okay. All right. There it is. We're working on it now because we do have some time. Kendra Andrews, ESPN, as we get ready for the Warriors and the Nuggets tonight on 95.7 The Game. Let's dive in a little bit more to some of these players and their minute allocation. Like, you know, so everybody seems to have some depressed minutes in a good way, right? Like the strength in numbers. How strategic is that? Do you expect it to be all year long?
What do you mean?
Well, like nobody is playing north of 35 minutes ever. Like even right? Steph Curry, they're able to keep the minutes down. Is that something that we just expect all year?
I mean, I think we're 8 games into the season, so it's impossible to sit here and say that's exactly what it's going to look like. But in the perfect world, yes. You know, I think what the Warriors and what Steve Kerr wants to do right now is, again, we're 8 games into the season. There's no need to be playing Steph more than 35 minutes, 40-something minutes per night because they want to save him. injuries, they will happen. Other things will happen and get in the way, but you want to try and save when you're having to play these players for so much longer periods for those later dates. Being just in November, keep guys fresh. The Warriors, they're excited about the in-season tournament, so wait to see if they can make it to Vegas, see what happens then. And then as you kind of turn into the new year, depending on where the Warriors are at, depending on where their health is at, where they're at in the standings, it could be adjusted. But if Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and these guys could go through all season with Steph just playing 35 minutes a night, they're not going to say no to that.
No, that would be great, especially if they continue to win at this clip. One player who has had his minutes depressed, it seems intentional, that's Andrew Wiggins. Just 25 minutes a night, not in the finishing lineup most of the time. What's the deal, Kendra? What are you seeing from Wiggs?
He's had a tough start to the season. I was talking about some other people today. The Warriors are plus 88 when Wiggins is on the bench, when he's not playing. That is an incredibly drastic split, right? That number says so much. And the Warriors, they're not concerned that this is going to be his game or how he plays all season long, but it's much slower than they would have liked him to start the year. There have been flashes of that athleticism and aggression that is so important to this team. He just hasn't been able to convert it. And until he does, like we talked about before, the Warriors have a good roster. They feel comfortable with the guys they have. They have so many different options for who they can close with that if closing with other people are working, they're going to go with that. And then once Andrew wakes up a little bit more, maybe we see him in that closing lineup and his minutes go back up.
Kendra, can I challenge something that I take the Warriors have told you? I don't challenge your reporting at all, but the quote, they're not concerned. Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I mean, it is a fair thing to kind of, raise your eyebrow at. And again, I say we're 8 games into the season. Give it a couple more. And then, if it continues, then I think you start becoming concerned. Once you start losing, you start being concerned when other guys aren't showing up and can kind of cover up some of the holes that having, Wiggins start a little bit slower is giving. But what I've observed from Andrew's body language and stuff is that in the past, he'll have gone through stretches where he's not playing as well, and it just doesn't look like he's engaged. It looks like he's more engaged, but things just aren't working for him. And to me, that's a better sign than looking completely uninterested. The Warriors have always had this mindset, whether it's with Clay and his shot or someone else and how they're playing, as long as you're being active, eventually it will come. But as soon as you stop being active and you start being passive, that's when you start to get really concerned.
That's good analysis, and it's something I'll definitely look at tonight because I see his 10 shots a game, and I see that number and think he's got to be more aggressive. But if you're seeing more engagement, I'll try to keep an eye on that. One player that we've seen really engaged and he's making strides is Jonathan Kuminga. How much do you see Kuminga making that so-coveted third-year leap?
He's taking it really seriously. He wants to make that leap. He wants to not only have Steve begin to trust him, but then retain that trust and put him out there in big moments. And so Kuminga has had a good start to the season, but the thing that the Warriors want to continue to see more of him is just presence on the glass, right? Just more rebounding, especially if Andrew is getting off to that slower start. The only guy who matches that same level of athleticism is Jonathan Kuminga. So they need to have him be a crasher, just grab every single rebound, especially on the offensive boards. But they are happy with the offense that he's playing. He's more present on defense than this season than he has been in the past. So overall, really big strides for him.
Kendra Andrews, ESPN. Kendra, have you been with the team for all the road games so far?
Not all of them. A couple of them I've missed.
Okay. The reason I ask is I wonder if there's anything you notice. A team that literally just could not win a road game. Again, I know we're on a short sample here, but what do you notice when the group is together on the road that maybe is different from last year?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned their chemistry at the start of our conversation, and I think that is a big thing. In the locker room, it's very playful isn't quite the right word, but there's a lot of fun conversations happening between these guys, and it extends outside of the locker room as well. I also just think that on the floor, their communication is so big. Last season, the defense stat, home versus away, was the one that was just so glaring. And overall, the Warriors defense, yes, it has some improvements it could make, but that has been so much better this year. That split has been much smaller. And so it's those little things that then once you start combining them all together, it makes for a better record. And then also we talked about the closing lineup. The Warriors are just better at closing right now than they were a year ago. Those games this season, let's say against the one against the Kings, I know that was at home, but the one against the Kings that Clay hit the game winner, and then the one that in OKC, I feel like those are two games last season the Warriors would have lost. But this year they were able to win them, and I think it's just a good comparison of where they were a year ago.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ, FM, and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. And a quick reminder that a pair of Green Day tickets at Oracle Park next September are coming up at 5:30, so make sure you're with us for that. We're hanging out with Kendra Andrews of ESPN.
And Kendra, you mentioned the joy, and you can't help but see Draymond Green and Chris Paul together, enjoying playing together. Are you surprised at all that these two, and I'll say cantankerous because it's kind of my word of the week, but these two spicy personalities are getting along so well?
I'm not, because the thing that they both have for each other is respect, and they had respect for each other coming in. Of course it was, and Chris has talked a lot about it, how weird it felt to be a Warrior and put on a Warriors jersey because of the history that that he has with this team. And Draymond said, I think it was at Media Day, look, like, some people say I'm an a-hole when I play. They say Chris Paul is the same when he's on the court. You put those two personalities together, and you can expect us to butt heads at some point. But one, winning makes everything better. And B, again, I think the respect that these two have for each other and the understanding, like, those two have two of the greatest basketball minds in this league. They understand how good they can be if they work together. And that's exactly what we're seeing.
Kendra, they're down two of their top defensive players. They're facing the champs and the MVP. Mm-hmm. What would a reason for optimism be as we get ready for this one?
I mean, I think you just hope that their offense is really shooting well tonight. The Nuggets are without Jamal Murray. And they're going to be without Jamal for a bit of time, which is really unfortunate for Denver. But it gives maybe the Warriors a little bit glimmer of hope if we can get hotter on offense. That will be really important, because they are missing two of their best defenders, and two of their defenders who, when you think back, I know it was 2 years ago, but when you think back to that Denver series that the Warriors played in the first round of that title run, I don't want to give away the answer to your competition question, but those two defenders spent a lot of time guarding Nikola Jokic, right? And now you're already a small team, you take out those two defenders. You really have Kevon Looney. I expect that Trace Jackson-Davis, the rookie, to maybe get some minutes just to have another big body presence. But containing Jokic is going to be a challenge. So the Warriors just have to knock out everywhere else and try and outscore these Nuggets.
That's wonderful broadcasting awareness.
You're a pro, Ken.
But we have a winner, so
okay.
you can say GP2's name now.
Okay, good. Okay, yes. Well, without GP2, who played really good defense on Jokic in that series, and without Draymond, it's going to be an even taller task than it was going to be regardless.
A pro through and through. Kendra Andrews here on 95.7 The Game. Impressive restraint there. We do appreciate that. Klay Thompson, in a contract year, has come out and played really well. Looks to be in better shape than last year to start the season. Are you sensing any of the contract stuff weighing on him, or is Klay just his usual locked-in performer?
I think Klay is just his usual self. He's not the type of guy who would let that stuff really get to him. And in the past, he has had slower starts, and it always warms up. The rest always comes off. So it's just one of those things you wait and see, kind of like what I was talking with Andrew earlier. Things just kind of, you just wait and see. No one's stressing about anything that he's doing, and they have a lot of confidence in him.
Kendra, great stuff. We thank you so much on a game night for hopping on.
Yeah, of course. I'll talk to you guys soon.